Chapter 3 Insight inspires originality. Who do you want to attract? When Anne was in journalism school, she learned the fundamentals of a good news story, that every article should answer the 5 W's: who, what, when, where, and why. The idea, of course, was to tell a good story accurately, and make it relevant to the reader. Just like good journalism, good content strategy focuses on the story you have to tell, and the audience you are trying to attract. These fundamental 5 W's will help you focus on your customers, their needs, their preferences, and so on. Unlike journalism, though, your content strategy should begin with a why. 1. Why are you creating the content you are creating? What are your goals? 2. Who is your audience? And who are you? 3. What do you want the content to achieve? 4. When and how are you going to develop the content? 5. Where are you going to publish? Question 1. Why are you creating the content you are creating? What are your goals? What do you hope to accomplish? The cornerstone of any content strategy is to match what you want to produce with your business objectives and strategic goals. The key here is to answer this question: how will your content strategy integrate with your other strategic efforts? Question 2. Who is your audience? And who are you? Who are the members of your target audience, customers or prospects? What are their preferences? Are they offline or online? What types of media or which platforms best resonate with your customers or your prospects? What are their problems? And, more important, how can you help them? You must know your customers well enough to know what their biggest problems are, says landing page expert Dr. Carl Blanks. Also, don't ignore the second part of that question: who are you? What's unique about you? What are your point of view and your perspective? Question 3. What do you want the content to achieve? What effects do you want your content to have? What action do you want customers or prospects to take? And how will you measure their behavior and define the success of your efforts? Helping your audience can take several forms. How can you help them do their jobs better, plan their vacations, buy a camera, or train for marathons? How can you anticipate and meet their needs so they start to see you as a trusted source of information they need, and not as someone who just wants to sell them stuff? You want to give their purchases a context. Question 4. When and how are you going to develop the content? How can you present the content in a way that best engages the intended audience? What's your budget? By what process are you going to create the stuff you need to create? What's your publishing schedule? Question 5. Where are you going to publish? How is your content going to be found, accessed, and shared? Start with the why. Here is where the second content rule comes into play. Insight inspires originality. Why? Because although you might be tempted to dive right in and start blogging or uploading videos to YouTube, it'll be far more effective if you take the time to determine why you are going to be creating before you actually create. Otherwise, what you do may not accomplish your goals. Have you ever had a higher-up come into your office and demand, like a petulant child aching for a new pony, "We need a fill-in-the-blank with the latest and greatest new shiny online toy that is getting lots of media coverage"? It may be a Twitter account, a live streaming video show, or a blog. If so, then your gut reaction was probably to ask the most important question. Wait a second. Why? Now, we're asking you the same. You may have an image inside your head of the types of content you want to create. You might have grand visions of slickly designed gorgeousness that will bring customers racing to your door, money in hand. But the truth is that without a strategic plan, also known as big picture thinking, you're doomed to fail or, at the very least, underperform. So keep those dreams alive, but put them on a back burner for a few chapters, while we lay the groundwork. Chances are, you want to produce your online content to meet one of the following 4 objectives. 1. To attract new customers. 2. To raise awareness about your company, and create buzz about it. 3. To share more information about your company online to make it easier for people to find you. 4. To foster your community and give them a reason to tell others about you. How many of you had considered that last one? We bet not many. But in the pages ahead we'll talk about why it is critical. A quick and dirty search lesson. Todd Diffron, principal at Shift Communications, once gave a presentation that opened with a slide shown in figure 3. 1. It sums up why posting content on your site is so important. When people search, you want them to find you. Whole books have been written on search engine optimization (SED), and we explain a bit more about that later. But to sum it up, the more unique pieces of content combined with the more links you have to your site from other websites, inbound links, the higher your search ranking will be. When someone searches for vegan dog treats, and you sell all kinds of all-natural dog products, your goal should be to come up as close to the first result as possible. But how do you secure those inbound links, you ask? By creating compelling content. Every time someone shares a link to your site in some fashion, by blogging about you or sharing a link on Twitter, for example, it boosts your search ranking. Make a video that everyone is raving about, or write a blog post that people can't stop talking about, and you'll see your site start appearing much higher on the results page when people search for you or the things you sell. A higher ranking, of course, means that more people will visit your site when they search for something you sell. It's not just about getting more traffic, it's about getting more traffic that gives a shit, says Jay Bear. Back to the why and onto the who. This exercise will help you determine why you are creating content, i.e., to reach your audience, and what content will best suit your audience's needs. 1. Whom are you trying to reach? This must be the first question you answer. The more specific you can be and the more details you know, the better. If you answer anyone on the web, then you are casting your net awfully wide. You're likely to catch plenty of fish, but will they be the right kind of fish? That is why knowing whom you are going after comes in handy. Start with who your ideal customers would be. What are their ages? Where do they live? What do they do for work? Much of this may be guesswork, but forcing you and your staff to think about it is something that you should be doing already to grow your business. 2. Where do they spend their time online? You don't need to go through your customers' browsing history and Google search results to determine the types of sites they spend time on. How can you find this out? There are services such as Quietcast.com that rely on demographic data to tell you where people spend their time. Yes, this is generic and anonymous, but it is a starting point where you can ask them, in person or online. If you already have a customer database that you can pull by email, consider a short survey asking customers which they consider their top 5 websites. Get even more specific and ask them whether they use social networks like Facebook, Twitter, or LinkedIn. How sophisticated are they? Do they access online content via real simple syndication RSS? Do they subscribe to email newsletters and blogs? Such simple questions will quickly let you know where your customers are online and help you begin to conjure up what type of content will suit them. 3. How do they access the web? Are they browsing websites on a desktop, a laptop, an iPad, or a mobile device like a smartphone? Pay attention to that last category, in particular. You might create the coolest video on the planet, but if your audience is mainly mobile, can they access it? Also, if you are trying to reach business customers who are going to be visiting you from their work computers, you don't want to use too many fancy plugins or other items that might be blocked by a corporate firewall. Keep it simple and on target. 4. What are they craving? Do they want to be entertained, informed, or educated? Or all 3? Are they on the go and need information as quickly as possible? Do they have the time to really consume a full meal of content, or can they only snack on it? As will any piece of content, you and vehicle a very narrow window, often less than 8 seconds, according to some reports, to engage someone before they click away. If the headline catches their attention, you've bought yourself a little more time. The only way you are going to keep your customers' attention is if you know what they want. Again, this is a great place to ask questions, survey your visitors to see what they'd like to see more of. Give them 4 or 5 choices, and see which rises to the top. Also, ask them what medium they'd like the content presented in. You might suddenly discover that they want more text and you've just put all your efforts into video. Create the content that your community craves. 5. What do you want them to do? In the spirit of the third content rule, build momentum, good content always has an objective. It's created with the intent to drive some action. It should therefore carry a trigger to action. What do you want your audience to take away? What do you want them to do? Buy something. Sign up for a newsletter. Visit your corporate site. Join your Facebook page. Raise their hand for a demo. Attend a webinar. Hire you as a consultant. View any content you develop as playing a role in furthering a relationship. 6. What content do you already have? Take inventory of what you're already publishing and what you've already published. Leave no stone unturned. Look at your online and old-school brochures, your print and online newsletters, news releases, bulletins, digital assets, VHS tapes, one-time customer communiques, and so on. What do you already have that you might repurpose or, as we talk about in Chapter 5, reimagine? Are you freaking out at such big questions? Don't. Asking these hard questions may not be easy or as much fun as creating stuff, but it's an important and useful exercise that will pay off. Here's what we suggest. One day at lunchtime, grab pads of sticky notes, round up your colleagues, find a place with a blank wall, and go to town, having everyone write down answers to each question and sticking them up on the wall under each headline. After a set amount of time, stop, then walk through the answers. The ones no one agrees with, throw away. The ones that stay up are as good a place to start as any. Set your metrics. What does success look like? At the start of any campaign or initiative, you should ask one simple question: how will we measure success? There is always one person in the room who thinks this is a simple question, because it is a game of numbers. But what numbers are we talking about? Online media are more trackable than any other media have been. But even so, you can't track everything, so how are you guaranteed to track success? Common, yet ineffective, answers to this usually look like generating a lot of buzz and conversation online. Having our video go viral. A-list influencers or web celebrities talking about us in positive ways. None of those are quantifiable and so shouldn't be true goals. Better versions of them might be generating at least 100 new mentions of our product online. Having more than 10,000 views of our video across all sharing platforms. Having 10 bloggers write positive posts about us. Do you see the difference? The first set of goals is vague and subjective, but the second set is clear and you can objectively determine whether you hit them. There are no gray areas in the second batch. They therefore are the type of metrics that you want to set so that you can accurately assess a project and deem it successful or not. Here's how you might measure specific types of content. Blogs. Subscribers. The number of people who have subscribed to your blog via RSS or email to get the latest content automatically. Inbound links. The number of other sites that are linking to your site. Most search engines, like Google or Bing or Yahoo, can display this number for you. Comments. How much interaction do you have in the comments section of your blog? This is a good measure of how engaged your readers are. Social validation. How many people socially validated your content by liking it on Facebook, tweeting it on Twitter, or otherwise sharing it through social channels? Photo and video. Views. All photo and video sharing services will display the number of views. If you share across multiple services, you will need to add these numbers up, or use a service such as TubeMogul to do it for you. You can also post to several video platforms via TubeMogul, by the way. Likes, thumbs ups, and favorites. Similar to blogs, most services have some form of so-called social validation, like the ability to like or favorite a video. Webinars. Signups and attendees. How many people took the time to fill out your registration form? How many of them actually showed up on the date and at the time to take part in the event? How many viewed it later, on demand? Ebooks or white papers? Downloads. How many people downloaded a copy of your ebook or white paper? In addition to having a sense of your objectives and your audience, it's equally important to have a sense of your own company's unique voice, which leads, of course, to the next chapter. Who are you? 1. This is an actual quote uttered by Jay, as indicated by the quotation marks. We chose not to alter it or water it down as shit, for example, because that seems cowardly. As a rule, we avoid cursing in business content, but sometimes it conveys a point colorfully, as in this instance. If that quote makes you reach for the smelling salts or otherwise offends, we apologize. But while we are on the subject, this is a good time to mention that you might want to develop your own policy toward cuss words. If you have a hip, edgy brand, it might suit you to drop an occasional verboten word into your content. But in general, we'd suggest avoiding a potty mouth free for all.